Some of you were not the kid who was called lazy. Some of you were the kid who was called smart, the one who got good grades, the one who looked fine, the one whose teachers would put up as an example for how the rest of us should be doing it. And I want to talk in this video about how both of those kids, the one that was called lazy and the one that was called smart, could end up in the exact same spot and as an adult, trying to figure out what is wrong with them. And spoiler alert, in a lot of cases, nothing is wrong with them. The same thing was happening underneath it all, and no one really knew what to look for or where. If you're new here, my name is Jasmine. I'm your local idea barista. I am not a therapist or a clinician of any kind. I am just here to have conversations with people who have big ideas and loud brains. Today, we're talking about what it takes to actually move forward when your brain doesn't work the way the books say that it should. And if this is your second, or rather, if this is the first time you're seeing me, welcome. There's a video before this one. You could watch it before or after. It doesn't really matter. It just adds context. So last week, I talked about what it was like being the kid that got called lazy. And this week, I want to talk about the kid who was called smart, because in a lot of cases, those are two versions of the same person. And the main difference isn't whether or not one brain was struggling and the other one wasn't. Which child was able to ride their brain to a passing grade? And there are 100 things that are to be considered that have nothing to do with the brain. For example, did the child like the subject? Did they like their teacher? Did they have the support that they needed? Did they have structure at home? Did somebody push them? Did they struggle from exam anxiety, or did they not? The grade was not really, usually, the grade is not the diagnostic. So the kid that had a hard time sitting still or focusing or turning in assignments, even though they knew the material, might have gotten labels like lazy, unfocused, unorganized, not caring enough. I got most of those. Some of y'all got worse. And the kid who maybe was able to sit still and was able to turn things on time, albeit maybe barely, but their work was brilliant, they got called smart and gifted. And the attitude was just, she doesn't apply herself as much as she should, but she's smart, so she'll be fine. Those are two very different labels. Different parents got different messages at parent-teacher conferences. Different teachers had different things to say on report cards. From the outside, it could look like these are two completely different children. But underneath it all, the engine that's driving both of these kids very well could be similar, right? They could be experiencing the same issues with starting. They could be experiencing the same problems with time management or follow through when they're working on something that neither interests them or feels urgent. They may have the same hyper focus when they're working on something that does. So here's what I really want you to hear, especially if you were one of the kids that got good grades and now you're an adult going, what is wrong with me? School has structure baked into it. There are bells, there are periods, there are deadlines on a syllabus. There are teachers that are giving you assignments and checking in that you did it the next day. Your parents and your teachers are having conversations about you. For the kid who got called lazy, oftentimes that structure was the wall that you kept crashing into. Every missed deadline was more evidence that what they were saying about you was true. Every assignment that you couldn't start became another piece of proof. So for the kid that got called smart, that same scaffolding might have been the thing that was holding you up. And maybe you didn't realize that because you were so deep into it. But now as an adult, maybe you remember yourself as somebody that was able to get it all done, not realizing that the structure was holding some of that cognitive weight. Your brain didn't have to do it on its own. And as long as that structure was there, you looked fine on paper. But then we became adults. Adulthood often takes that structure away while at the same time adding more responsibility on top of it. And your career doesn't have a syllabus. Your relationships don't have semesters. There's no teacher checking in to make sure that you booked that dentist appointment you've been trying to book for the last 15 months. So without that structure, the things that you might have been struggling with, that the structure was maybe lightly compensating for, now becomes more apparent. And this is the moment that a lot of people end up here, watching videos like this one, trying to figure out what happened, like what changed. And in a lot of cases, the only thing that changed was that your structure left, and now you have more responsibility. And now I want to slow it down a bit and use a word that I feel like I see thrown around a lot, and that is spectrum. To me, ADHD is a spectrum, and I'm not saying that in a casual, like everyone's a little ADHD way that people like to say online. I mean that it shows up across a range of presentations and a range of severities. You might have somebody that is visibly hyperactive, bouncing off the walls. You know, they have the type of hyperactivity in ADHD that is more easily recognized in like elementary school. Then you've got the kids who are quiet and inattentive. They may forget instructions, or they get nicknames like Spacey, or like they're in their own world. Then you've got the kids who get the good grades, but they also have perfectionism and anxiety and people-pleasing, last-minute panic. All of that counts. They look fine on the outside, but on the inside, they are on fire. Some people can't compensate at all. I was reading a book by Dr. Barkley where he was saying that there are some people with ADHD who can't drive. They can't hold down jobs. I have ADHD diagnosed, but I can drive. I'm actually a really good driver. I've held down jobs. I've excelled at jobs. I'm often promoted. So, like, yes, that's what I mean when I say it shows up across a range of presentations and severities. So when the adults around a child only know to look for one thing, usually the hyperactive little boy bouncing off the walls, it's easier to miss any child that doesn't fit that description. If you were a girl, a child of color, a quiet kid, a kid that was able to mask, you were easy to miss. And not because your ADHD was not as real as the hyperactive little boy, but because the systems around you were only trained to look for one thing. And frankly, if you are a child of color, Black, there is a generational distrust of the medical system. So even if you were diagnosed with it, it's very possible that the adults in your own life would say, no, she's fine. No, she doesn't need that medication. No, there is no intervention that's needed. She's fine. She just needs to work harder. By the way, I am not telling you that you have ADHD. I don't have the credentials to do that. But if anything that I'm saying in my videos feels painfully familiar, it might be a good indication that it's time for you to have a conversation with a qualified professional who understands adult ADHD. If you've made it this far in the video, I hope something shifted or that it was helpful to you in any way. You know, you may have been that kid that got good grades and was called gifted, or, you know, was given labels that did equal amount of damage, or, you know, adulthood took your scaffolding away. Whichever version of that story is the one that you lived, I hope that you can walk away from this video not asking, what is wrong with me, but instead asking, what if nothing was wrong with me? What if my brain is just wired in a way that nobody had the language for? And then with that in mind, figuring out what type of scaffolding do you actually need to set yourself up for success. If any of this hit, please let me know in the comments which part. I read all of the comments. At the moment, there aren't many. And if you want to join a community of people that understand the struggle, because most of us, all of us have lived it, there is a link to my Idea Cafe on the school community in the description. Also, if this was helpful to you, you can find the playlist here, and YouTube thinks that you'll like this video. See you later.